Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to be here today in Las Vegas with all of you. We really appreciate Zscaler as our partner. And today, I want to talk to you about how our partnership can strengthen your Zero Trust strategy. Yesterday, you heard Jay discuss the recent events that force all of us to reevaluate our approach to security. And with the pandemic, more of our personal and professional lives are online. Digital transformation has accelerated, and the IT environments are expanding. And everything around us is more connected than ever. And with this larger surface area, attacks keep getting more sophisticated, while security requirements are getting more complex. So in response, organizations everywhere have embarked on the Zero Trust as a business imperative. Everyone needs a good defense. But in the case of Zero Trust, the best defense can also be a good offense. And let me explain. We have a lot of IT administrators and security ops people here with us today. So do you feel like your job is to say no? Like you become the champion of no, right? Well, you have to keep everyone and everything secure. But then people complain that your security measures is too restrictive. And this is one reason, frankly, that MFA adoption is still lagging. Because even though it offers the great protection against credential-based attacks, people worry about user experience. Microsoft and Zscaler agree. You should not have to make the false trade-off between security and productivity. And in fact, with an optimal Zero Trust architecture, you now become the champion of yes. Because when your digital estate is properly secured, your employees can push the boundaries of innovation without fear. And this makes Zero Trust a competitive advantage. And for all of you IT and security professionals, it puts the future of business in your hands. So let's take an example that is top of mind for many leaders in this room. And that is the future of work. If there is a common theme among the business today, it is there is no going back. And this is certainly true in the technology sector. In 2020, we went home. Then came the great resignation of 2021. And then the great reshuffle of 2022. And now we're in a time of great expectation. As Microsoft learned from our 2022 annual Work Trend Index report, half of the leaders say their company still requires full-time in-person work. And at the same time, more than half of the employees are considering hybrid or complete remote work. And younger employees want flexibility even more. And in fact, Gen Z is 77% more likely to engage with companies on LinkedIn that mention the word flexibility. So what does that all have to do with Zero Trust and a competitive advantage? Well, all the cool kids want to work at the most innovative companies. And the most innovative companies are embracing the future to give people the flexibility they want to do their best work. And the other companies holding back because they do not want to take the security risk of employees working outside the corporate environment. So fear of risk hurts innovation. And if you take a cloud-native approach to your Zero Trust implementation, you get access to the greater compute resources, which lets you take advantage of the AI and the machine learning-driven security solutions. And this reduces risk, because you will be less vulnerable to external attacks, internal sabotage, and unintentional employee mistakes, even as your overall the attack surface grows. And now you can become the champion of yes. Fear, for example, if more flexible work arrangements can help you retain talent, you can say yes. It is pretty clear that we are not going to go back to everyone being in the office every single day, right? I know even from my own team, some people want to keep working from home. Some feel more productive to be in the office. But everyone wants is flexibility. In any case, you can no longer assume that on any given day, any given person will be working from the same physical location or device or even network. A zero trust architecture means you don't have to. And if adding fully remote positions will attract new talent, you can say yes. Talent does not have to be local anymore, right? After all, like I can just join a Teams meeting today from Hawaii, for example, and put a picture of Seattle behind me. Nobody will tell the difference. I think you all know what I mean. So today, I have engineering team, frankly, all over the world, from Redmond, Seattle, to Dublin, to Nairobi. And a zero trust architecture enables the workflow that is more digital and more asynchronous. So people can safely collaborate across geographies as well as time zones. And if close collaboration with other organizations was strengthening your business, you can say yes. Some companies are taking advantage of the great talent from agencies, freelancers, and even acquisitions. And using zero trust principles, you can create secure and trustworthy connections. So your employees and everyone they work with can collaborate seamlessly. So to embrace the future of work, all you have to do is to enable your employees, contractors, vendors, and customers to securely collaborate on your resources from wherever they want, whenever they want, using whatever device, network, or application they want, all while meeting industry standards and government regulations and market expectation. So that sounds pretty easy, right? Well, it's actually not as hard as some people might think it is, right? A cloud-native approach to zero trust that is combined with AI and ML-driven security can help you to overcome the tension between expectations as well as risk. You really can reduce the risk and enable the kind of flexibility that encourages productivity, collaboration, and innovation. Of course, how flexible you can be really depends on the type of business you are running. But no organization can embrace the future of work without a strong security framework. So let's see how you can embrace employee expectations and transform your workplace challenges into a competitive advantage. For that, I would like to invite Patrick Foxhoven and Matt Solzman on stage to demo how Microsoft and Zscaler solutions that work together to strengthening your zero trust posture.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really excited to be here in Las Vegas with you all to walk you through a pre-recorded tour of the integrations between Zscaler and Microsoft's that's related to Zero Trust. I'm really excited about this, and I think you will be too. Now, let's pretend for a moment that Patrick is a new hire as a brand new software engineer at a company called Woodgrove.
Do not tell Jay that.
Yeah. So as his first day, he's also a remote employee. So as his first day, they shipped him a new PC and a USB security key. Now he's got to get that set up. How does he do that if he doesn't have access to anything? Well, using his personal Mac, he's going to open the Edge browser and launch the Woodgrove security page, and he's going to sign in using a temporary access pass that his company issued him. And this is a one-time use password. From here, he's going to walk through a wizard of registering a USB security key. Super easy and efficient, right? So he's going to set a unique PIN on it, go ahead and register with Azure Active Directory and give it a name, and then he's ready to go. He's now gone passwordless. Okay, so switching over to his work computer, let's get this set up. So he's going to turn it on for the first time, and normally Windows would ask him to log in with a username and password, but he's gone passwordless. So he's just going to click on sign in with a security key, and then from there, he's going to use that new USB security key, type in that unique PIN he set previously, give it a touch, and now he's off to the races. What's really cool about this is Windows Autopilot and Microsoft Endpoint Manager will now automatically push down corporate apps and all of the security policy he needs to be successful, including the Zscaler Client Connector. Now, Patrick, there's a few things happening on the back end here with your identity. You want to talk through that?
Yeah. So the Zscaler and Microsoft services are very seamlessly integrated, including rich identity integration with things like SCIM. So SCIM gives the ability for the account that just got created for me in Azure Active Directory to be pushed into the Zscaler console. And we can show what that looks like. This integration was also set up in Azure Active Directory using the gallery capability, so it was a one-click integration for the app. And you can see here that my account has been pushed in real time and is already pushed out to the Zscaler console.
That is really cool. Okay, so as part of your first day, you need to get access to some super sensitive apps, and you're going to do that using ZPA that are on premises. But we need to get you access to those apps. How do we do that? Well, we're going to go back to that security page you saw before, but now we're going to go to the My Apps portal within Azure Active Directory. And this allows Patrick to do what's called an access package and request access to that app. Let's call it the dashboard app. So once he's signed in here to the My Apps portal, he's going to click on My Access, and then you'll see that second row there for the dashboard app, and he's going to click on Request over on the far right side. From here, he's going to go through the wizard. Now, he would have had to complete some required security training in order to get access, and so he's simply now attesting that he's completed that training. And then go ahead and click Submit, and he's ready to go. Now, what's really cool about this is on the back end, it's adding him to a security group within Azure Active Directory, and then there's some magic happening on the Zscaler side. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so what's happening on the Zscaler side is leveraging the same integration that I just showed for SCIM to do the user population into the Zscaler console. We also do not have to create a policy at all on the Zscaler console for that user to now, for me, to all of a sudden have access to an application that's coming through. And you see that happening as a result of the SCIM group memberships that Matt just walked through. So I've got access to the application. I've got an account. I've been provisioned with a passwordless environment on my PC. If I pivot you over to what my desktop looks like, and I launch the client connector, there's something that's happened here that's pretty powerful, which is I'm not getting prompted to authenticate to the client connector. It's using integrated Windows authentication. The client connector was pushed down seamlessly to the machine, and I'm already authenticated and getting a full set of security services from Zscaler, whether it's Zero Trust Access, which we'll show here, or my internet access itself getting filtered from a security perspective. And so if I show you what that looks like, if I need to access an application, I can load up my web browser. I type in the application. Now, the name of this application is not published to the internet. There's no attack surface. This is using Zero Trust Access brokering, and there's something else that happened. I didn't see a login to the application either because there's still the same assertion that's been passed through into the application itself from the provisioning of Client Connector and all the identity magic that just happened. If we pivot back and show the policy around this application, we wanted to show that there are certain applications, in this case, crown jewel application that could be very sensitive, and so you want to have the access policy be a little more granulated, not just allow or deny because the system thinks I'm Patrick. In this case, we have a policy that's in place that is checking for the posture of the device. So true to the Zero Trust principles, we're going to check to see if Windows Defender is on the machine before even allowing that application to ever even be accessed. The attack surface of that application is completely dark unless all of the posture criteria has been met. There could be additional checks. We see a lot of customers often put, is the machine on a domain? Is it a BYOD versus a corporate issued device, et cetera. There's more at play here. So I showed how you access an application in a Zero Trust way, but there's also security in place here, and I'm sure none of you have ever dealt with this yet. This is probably one of the most common targeted spear phishing campaigns where someone is impersonating an IT department, maybe exploiting the fact that I'm a new employee, and trying to get me to click on a link, in this case to install a security update. I'm a new employee, I might not even know who's authorized in the IT department. So let's say I click on that link. Now we're going to show this in two examples. We're going to first show this in a way where we've got sandboxing enabled as a part of Zscaler Internet Access. And the sandboxing policy, which we would recommend for the most security, would be to not allow a file to be downloaded unless it's gone through the sandbox. So we're showing a quarantining effect. And that's very powerful because we're going to stop the threat right out of the gate because this is something new and it's never been scanned before. But we can show this in a little more complicated use cases. Let's say an organization can't take that strict of a policy out of the gate and they are going to allow it to download, so what some would call a patient zero effect. So in that case, if what happens is I click on that link and I download the application, you're going to see I'm going to be allowed to download it because we don't have quarantining enabled in the sandbox policy. There's something bad happening in this application. If I try to launch this application, I'm going to show what it looks like. So in this case, it's going to be a piece of malware that's going to start a keylogger on my system as it's executed. A little video hiccup, but hopefully we will see this happen here. There we go. We're going to run this, and it's going to execute a keylogger on the machine. So that's not the end of the world, though, now that the keylogger is running. So let's have Matt share a little bit more about other layers of security that's in place here.
Yeah, so now that malware is on your machine, we probably want security operations to take a look at that, right? So using Microsoft Sentinel, they're going to get an alert from ZIA about that patient zero alert that just came into ZIA. And so logging into the Sentinel portal here, we're going to click on incidents, and we'll see that patient zero alert start to show up. Now, this is interesting because from here, we can also add additional context. These are customizable. So we could put notes in there for that SecOps analyst. We can even trigger automatic remediation playbooks. But at this point, as they review that, they probably want to now start their investigative process. So to aid in that, they can use what's called a workbook inside Microsoft Sentinel. Now, this is really cool because it's querying all the data on the logs coming in from ZIA and even ZPA to be able to kind of find that needle in a haystack, or as you can see here, just get visualizations that are really rich to be able to understand what's happening in the environment, in this case, for threats. Now, I think this also serves kind of dual purpose. On the other side, I can then work with my leadership to say, hey, let's spot some trends here over time, see how we're doing, and be able to use that. These actually come pre-built when you install the connector for Sentinel from Zscaler, but you can customize them and create your own. Really cool stuff.
So one of the workflows that you might do next, knowing that an alert fired and it's being monitored, is to prompt the security team to then log into the Zscaler console to take a look at what's happening with that particular piece of malware. So on the ZIA console, if you log in, you can drill into particular events around, in this case, a sandbox executable. So this was allowed to be downloaded, but it still went through the sandbox and is deemed to be malicious. And so we can right-click on that, and we can actually do an integration into Windows Defender because that's running on the endpoint. And we can see what Defender knows about the piece of malware. We can also see what Zscaler knows, and obviously one click into the details of why that piece of that binary was flagged as malicious. But there's something even deeper or more richly integrated here, which is the actions that we can take place between Microsoft and Zscaler. And so if you see down here on the bottom, or on the bottom right of this screen, we'll zoom in a little bit here, you have some steps that you can take beyond just alerting. We can isolate the machine from the network completely. So that's completely isolating it from the environment. We can stop current processes from executing, like that piece of malware that's running. We can trigger an alert, and we can send it to a remediation response workflow. And we can also, I'll show the prevent future exceptions in a moment, we can also prevent this from impacting other users in the future. And so if I hit stop current executions on the Zscaler console, this is going to do a call to Windows Defender and actually prevent that keylogger from running any further. And if I show what that looks like on the end user's desktop, if I switch over to the end user's desktop, I hit stop current executions, and you will see that this piece of malware on the left that we're letting you see run is going to be terminated. And then there's going to be a toast notification down here at the bottom, a rich interaction to let the user know why that application just got stopped. If I pivot back to the Zscaler console, there's something else that we can do to help prevent users from getting infected in the future as well, which is, I alluded to it, the Prevent Future Executions button. So this is going to do another API integration with Defender, send the IOC details out to Defender, so that Defender then can prevent that piece of malware from executing on any other user's desktop in the future.
Okay, again, that's really cool. I think that's pretty interesting. So looking on the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint side, we can log into the admin portal, go down to settings here, and click on endpoints. And we can see that custom indicator of compromise being written to the system here. And so as we scroll down here and find indicators, you'll see a tab for file hashes. And this is where the file hashes coming in from ZIA will appear. And if we click on it, we'll be able to see that it was actually synchronized from Zscaler. Again, I think that's a really cool integration, and as you can see, it's actually pretty seamless and straightforward.
So we've shown you a Zero Trust Access example. We've also showed a advanced threat piece of malware example. We're also doing things on the performance front. So you just heard a little bit about Zscaler Digital Experience, and we thought we'd show an example of how we're integrated with Microsoft together on the performance side too. So I'm sure none of you have ever heard this, why is the internet slow or why is something not working? Here we're highlighting a region in the Great Lakes. We're going to zoom in because it was showing, it looked like it had a performance issue. And we're going to drill into the Great Lakes and see which user, in this case it's me, having a performance issue with a particular application. And in this case we're showing Microsoft Teams, which we have rich integration with Microsoft on. I can see that score over time. We're scoring all the activity from a user as they're accessing Teams and seeing what the health is. And in this case, if we scroll down to the bottom, we're seeing the system's pretty healthy, but there's one thing in particular that's happening on the first part of the left of the diagram, which is the Wi-Fi connection from my laptop to my router at home is experiencing poor connectivity. 634 milliseconds, it's pretty bad. So this allows the IT department to potentially not only troubleshoot, triage what the problem is. It's not a problem with Teams. The PC is healthy. It's a problem with the Wi-Fi. Maybe drop a new access point out to the user, tell them to stop working from too far away, like maybe from the pool, and they're too far away from the radio, which we've seen before. And so we're integrated at the Zscaler Client Connector, doing all three things in conjunction. So access, security, and performance.
That's super interesting. Now, one of the things that I get really excited about, in addition to all of this, is the Defender for Cloud Apps integration with ZIA. So in Patrick's role here as a software engineer, his manager asked him to take a look at new developer apps that he can use. Now, as he goes out and does that, obviously it's going through ZIA. Those logs are being sent to Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. And then at this point, we can actually get an alert into SecOps here, as you can see, that whether or not we want to allow or block access to that app. And so if he clicks on block, we can now block access using ZIA. So this is actually tagging the app as being unsanctioned inside Defender for Cloud Apps, and then it's synchronizing that over to ZIA. And if we try to sign into it, you'll see here in just a moment that it's now going to be blocked. Again, this is really interesting. And now that email that you saw, this is using Microsoft Power Automate to be able to create that custom security playbook. And obviously, this can be fully customizable. I'm just kind of showing you kind of tip of the iceberg here, but sky's the limit. This is really interesting stuff. OK, so wrapping up, I think you'll agree with me that, again, this is exciting. This is some incredible integrations. We're obviously pretty excited about it. So please join me in welcoming Joy back on stage, and have a great rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick and Matt. What a great, cool set of demos, right? So this is just a taste of how Microsoft and Zscaler partnership is bringing the Zero Trust and our newest innovations to life. And if you want to actually see more, Matt is actually sharing a deep dive session later this morning with the Zscaler team. So I encourage you to check it out. So now, let's talk about how Zscaler and Microsoft integration can benefit our customers. So for that, I would like to actually introduce Jason Chung, who's the Vice President of Network and Security at Humana, to share with us how Zero Trust is helping them to play offense. Welcome, Jason.
All right. Hello, everyone. I thought about, I've been to many of these conferences, and if I'm sitting in your seat, what do I really want to hear about? And frankly, it's just, how does another customer, how does another peer in the industry, how do they deliver and execute some of these solutions that you've heard about all week? So I'm trying to keep it simple. I have no slides. This is going to talk about what we do at Humana, right? Security and privacy are very important to every organization. And since we're in the healthcare industry, those are top of mind for us. At Humana, we rely on a zero-touch approach, not only to keep our employees and plan members safe, but really it helps to create innovation and grow as a business. So let me walk through some of the ways we're using Microsoft and Zscaler together. First, we use Microsoft AD for identity and access management with tight integration with Zscaler, just like the demo you've heard from Matt earlier today. For example, we deploy and configure the Zscaler client connector to every single device in our organization. First, we use Intune to onboard our users quickly, and then we onboard their end user devices. Next, the next process to that, we use Azure AD to onboard the employees to our applications. So once that's done, we take advantage of Azure AD single sign-on to connect to Office 365 and all of our key SaaS platforms like Salesforce, Workday, Oracle, for 130,000 users. And for any new applications that come into our environment, they have to go through the Azure AD single sign-on process. As Joy said about her own team at Microsoft, same thing at Humana. We don't expect our employees to come back to the office. We're listening to our employees. They're all asking for options. They want to choose their own work style. And so whatever option they choose, it's important for us as leaders. We have to keep our employees secure and productive. And so Microsoft has been a real key partner for us at Humana. We've deployed Microsoft Defender to every workstation in our environment, and we're really looking forward to the integration shown today with a demo from Zscaler. We also want to give our employees the flexibility to work from anywhere. And so we actually rolled out ZIA to our entire environment to over, I think it was 200,000 devices. And using ZIA with Microsoft 365, it really gives our users a better experience because they can connect from anywhere and directly connect to the Office platform. And it really helps to continue our journey down a cloud-first architecture at Humana. And similar to many of you, we're going to look towards the future, which is we want to get rid of VPN, right? Why do we need our employees to VPN anymore? And so we're working with Zscaler to deploy ZPA and cloud connectors. So the next few months, we're going to deploy ZPA to about 10,000 users as a pilot, with the stretch goal of deploying ZPA to our entire organization by the end of 2023. And so ZPA plus Azure AD will make it possible for our employees to access all of our internal applications the same way they access a SaaS app, no matter where they come from. We also want to simplify how we connect our workloads. And we're going to do that with Zscaler Cloud Connector, where we can seamlessly enable secure communications between workloads sitting on-prem in our data centers and also in our cloud environments, and we use all three, Azure, AWS, and GCP. Joy also mentioned taking advantage of talent through collaboration and acquisitions. And one of the ways that Humana is growing our business is through mergers and acquisitions. In the healthcare industry, consolidation is just a fact of life. And so onboarding these new acquisitions has been really painful. There's going through a tedious exercise of how do you connect networks, how do you connect data centers. And so really, we're asking ourselves, how do we create a light integration quickly so we can take advantage of the return on investment. And so we're going to do that with cloud browser isolation. We're going to be able to use CBI to onboard our acquisitions quickly so that our new employees can authenticate through Azure AD and then have access to our entire application portfolio so they can be quickly productive. We don't have to deal with creating, installing circuits or MPLS or VPN tunnels into our data centers. None of that needs to happen anymore. So with CBI and Azure AD, our employees can quickly take advantage of connecting to applications regardless of what network they're on. So I know that was a quick overview, and I know that you've listened to the folks on the stage. It seems very easy, but I'm just going to tell you that in reality, it's not always easy, right? But what's important is you should focus on, what's the business requirements, business functionality that you are trying to deliver. What is the user experience, right? That's very important. You've heard that throughout this week. And take advantage of the Zscaler team that you guys work with. Your sales team, your sales engineering team, they're really here for you. We've put them through the ringer. We've ran into a few issues here and there, and they've been a really good partner for us. So just wanted to say that. With that, I'll hand this back to Joy. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jason. So I just love how taking a zero trust approach with Microsoft and the Zscaler is really helping Humana to embrace the future of work and to drive business growth through M&A. So we're all facing strong expectations about the future of work while striving to grow our businesses. And we're doing this in a very challenging environment. Cyber criminals and the nation-state actors are unleashing increasingly more sophisticated attacks against healthcare industry, core infrastructure, and other critical parts of our digital ecosystem. It is dangerous out there. We all know that zero trust is what you need to stay safe. But zero trust is not just playing defense. It is an intentional choice that you can make so that you can use it to play offense. Zero trust is your competitive advantage. Say yes, so your employees can push the boundaries of innovation without fear. So thank you very much.